Hey y'all, how y'all doing? It is Sunday evening, and I wanted to touch bases with you all in preparation for this week, as you continue to work on your assignments, right? And so one of the biggest comments that I made on the policy, and we're gonna hop right in. I don't want to hold you all long. Short video, right? I'm gonna jump through a couple of tabs, and I hope you can see them. But one of the main comments that I made to you all in the policy analysis outline and bibliography assignment is, are you going to include a peer-reviewed article? So many of you may say, well, Dr. Dozier, what is a peer-reviewed article? I thought the articles that I use or the references that I use were peer-reviewed, right? So when I say peer-reviewed article, what I'm saying is the article that you're using, which is typically going to come from a journal. That's number one. That's going to be a telltale sign. Does it come from a journal? Many of the journal names have journal in the title. So that's another telltale sign. Number one, it's in a journal. Number two, the title of the journal does include journal, the actual word journal in the title. I'm trying to think of one that doesn't have journal in the title. I can't think of one right now. But typically those are going to be two telltale signs. But what does it mean to be peer reviewed? Peer reviewed just essentially means that experts in that subject matter have read over your article. You have submitted it to a journal with an author, not you all in specifically, but an author has submitted their article to a journal for review. So peers that are experts in that particular field. So think about, for you all, a journal that focuses on child abuse, a journal that focuses on gun violence, a journal that focuses on domestic violence. I could throw in my topic, an article on first generation college students, an article on food insecurity. There are experts specifically in the field that focus on these topics, and typically two of them. Sometimes it can be more, and I won't go into the process of journaling. Right. But typically there are going to be two experts that read your article and provide feedback. And they're going to say, hey, this is a great article. Let's accept it and let's include it in our journal. Or no, there needs to be work done. What are they looking for? They're looking for updated sources. They're looking for the credibility of the work that you're talking about. If you're doing a research study, is the methodology sound? Are you speaking to an audience, right? And are you adding something to the literature that would benefit this specific crowd, right? And so this evening, I'm gonna go through a couple of slides and show you all a peer review article. Again, when you're looking at the article, it's going to have an abstract, it's going to have an introduction. If it's a research study, it will it'll have a literature review, a methodology section, a conclusion. All of these things kind of give a sign to say, hey, this comes from a peer-reviewed this is a peer-reviewed article. So I'm going to look at that, but I'm also going to look at website sources that can be beneficial for your topic, right? But they are not peer-reviewed. And so I'm not saying that you can't have other sources, but I want you all to also think about, as scholarly writers, what does peer-review journal articles look like, and can I include some? And typically, many of the topics that I think about that you all have had, they should have some research behind them that would be included in a peer-reviewed journal. And lastly, I've been making comments. I've graded your midterms. Everybody should have grades. I've provided comments. You all did great, phenomenal, phenomenal, phenomenal across the board. The only thing that I saw concerns with is inconsistency in APA writing, right? So I'm going to provide you all a link. I'm going to kind of peruse through the link a little bit. I don't want to hold you all long because I know attention spans, right? Sitting watching a video is not going to hold you all along, but I want to kind of look at those things, and we'll talk a little bit more about APA at the top of class on Thursday. But those are the two biggest things that are sticking out to me as we prepare for the end of the semester. And I will say overall, in terms of APA writing, it's just being consistent, right? And so I'm going to show some small nuances. All of you, if you attempted APA, I saw the effort and I made comments. I provided examples of how do you format it within the comments that I provided on the midterm feedback. And also those 5 extra points. If you weren't in class on Thursday, everybody receives 5 extra credit points for the midterm because you all actually participated in the midterm review. And so we have a final at the end of the semester. If you participate in the final, there will be an additional 5 points of bonus points for you to receive for the final. So right now, I'm going to share my screen with you all. And first we're going to start with looking at, and I'm gonna try something. This is the stressful part. Because I don't know if you see my screen or not. So it's gonna be a hopping process. So right now I'm sharing my screen. And I'm going to talk about first generation college students because that's my research area, right? And so I kind of know some of the websites as well as I've pulled an article. So if I was to use this website, it asks the question, this is from, if you look at the top, it is from the Center for First Generation Student Success, right? And so this is the website. This would essentially be the author that I use, but this is just a website, y'all. Any information that I pull from here, like even thinking about the definition of a first gen student. Am I a first gen student? It depends on who you ask, right? And so it has these questions, these particular questions related to the first gen identity, right? And so if I'm using this, I'm not saying that you can't use a website. You can use a website, but this is not considered a peer-reviewed journal article. This is just a website, right? And so there's specific formatting when you're working in-text citations as well as on the reference page. And so I'm just showing you all this as an example. This could be a particular source that I use if I'm focusing on first generation college students and a policy related to first generation college students. It's a website. It is not a peer-reviewed source. As I go through, I can scroll through. Now this source does provide articles. It says valuable articles for all first generation college students. So this is a website, but they do on the website offer articles, access to articles. So let's see if we can pull an article. And I know by looking at them, let's see if it shared my screen. And I'm going to kind of do stop share and share just because I want to make sure that you all are able to see the screen. So I'm sharing my screen again. So here's an article. Congratulations, you got into college. Now what? This article is by, it says by Students Rising Above is the contributor. So that would technically be the author name. It says it was written June 28th, 2016. I have that highlighted, but then it was updated December 6th, 2017. I would go with the 2017 date because it says that it's been updated. The information on here has been updated, right? So now we scroll down and we see that the actual author is Lynn Martin from Students Rising Above. So it would, the in-text citation would be Martin 2017. Where did I get that information from? The author is Lynn Martin, so we're going to use her last name. The updated date is December 6, 2017. So I'm going to use the year. You only have to use the year, right? But here's the question. Dr. Dozier, is this a peer-reviewed article? It's not. It's a website article. How do I know? Because first off, it says HuffPost. So I know that this is a newspaper article. It's a web-based newspaper article, right? I know that. Also, one of the telltale signs that I'm looking for, does the title anywhere say journal? It doesn't. I don't see any of that information. Secondly, as I scroll through, I don't see headings that know abstract, introduction, there's no method section, there's no literature review. So yes, this is an article, but it's a news article. It's not a peer review article from a journal. Question, Dr. Dozier, can I use this? Yes, you can use this if it's beneficial to your paper. But is it considered peer reviewed? No. I want you all to identify at least one peer reviewed article. Many of you, as you talked about your topics, I worked with you and I helped you to identify a peer reviewed article. So Dr. Dozier, we're stuck. We've gotten to the website. You showed us the website. It has valuable information. You took us to an article. It's a web-based news article. It's not a peer-reviewed article. So how do we find peer-reviewed articles? You can do it in a number of ways. I'm going to stop sharing my screen again, just because I want you all to be able to see. So I'm going to share my screen, and most of the time, honestly, I just Google. I do know we have web databases for scholarly articles, but I'm sure you all might start with Google first. So I'll just put in first generation college students articles. Just keep it simple. And I'm looking, and I know, looking at Inside Higher Ed, I know that is a web-based news article format, because a lot of my research is in higher education. So I know that's not a news, I know that's not a journal. U.S. News and World Report, I know that's not a journal. Brookings, I know that's not a journal, even though it focuses on education. So I'm looking for, and a lot of times you'll find PDFs. For me, ERIC, Education Resources Information Center, I know that is where I find most of my journal articles. So I know this could potentially be a journal article, right? And so this one, excuse me. Excuse me. Looking. So I haven't, I know one of the authors' names, because I'm familiar with their work, but it says the first one is 3 studies on first generation college students. And so this seems to be a collaborative article. I'm kind of scrolling through a little bit to kind of see, because they say 3 studies. But what you're going to find, some of the telltale signs, and one of the telltale signs that I don't see in this particular article is, unless they consider this the abstract, right? They could consider this the abstract. The formatting is just a little bit different. And each journal kind of formats their pages differently. But I would assume that this italicized information is going to be the abstract. Typically, for most journals, they're going to have abstract as one of the headings, right? So this is the abstract. I'm not going to read that to you all. But as you scroll through, some of the telltale signs of it also being a journal article is that you see APA in-text citations, right? We see Longwell and Grice, and Longwell and Grice 2008. These are examples as well. If you're trying to figure out how should in-text citations look at your research articles, look at those peer review articles that will reflect that, that APA formatting. And so again, I'm just scrolling through some of the key pieces that I want you to see as you look at the PDFs is, and I don't know what this acronym stands for. That's why I say their formatting is a little bit, I would say rough, for lack of a better term, from what I'm traditionally used to. Because think about the individuals who aren't familiar with what NACADA stands for. So somewhere they should have actually had the title of the journal spelled out explicitly instead of just using that acronym, and they may have it at the end of the journal. But we see it says journal, and then it also says volume 36, issue 2, 2016. So this is some clear information that you would actually use as you are writing, working on your reference page, as well as in-text citations. Now, for the in-text citations, what you would need is 2016. That's the year that it was published, and all of these authors' last name: Longwell Grice, Asdit, Adsit, Mullins, and Serrata, right? And so for APA formatting, you would say Longwell Grice et al. And we'll talk about that on the APA formatting. But I know this is peer reviewed because it's coming from a journal. It's a reputable journal. I'm looking at some of the telltale signs. I found the abstract. I found the journal name. It has a volume number as well as issue number. I have found a method section. There's talking about some data analysis. There are some telltale signs that say that it's peer reviewed, right? And I'm going to scroll through all of this because essentially they're examining 3 different studies. Another telltale sign is, does it have a reference page, right? The reference page builds the literature review. Most of this information is provided within the literature review, right? We're pulling research from other authors that have written about this specific topic on first-generation college students. And so I challenge you all. One of the challenges that I want you all to do is for class on, I'll have you tasked with it for next Tuesday. Not this Tuesday when we have the conference, but the next Tuesday that we're in class. I want you all to have identified one peer review article that talks about the topic that you want to do for your policy analysis. So I'll make note of that in the announcements. But I know that this is a peer-reviewed journal. And again, it has those telltale signs. This is their appendix. Not all research articles will have an appendix, but this one does in particular. But again, when I'm saying peer-reviewed, what it's essentially saying is that experts in the field, experts in the specific topic area have approved the work that you have put forth. What does it mean if experts haven't approved it? That means that your article got rejected for some reason, right? They may have felt that the research was not sound, and there are politics related to, submitting to journal articles as well. I'm not going to hop down into that, but experts have said that, yes, this work is sound. Yes, we want to publish it so that the larger community can also read it. And even as you look at, if you get into research, just like I said, one of these authors' names I'm familiar with and even looking at this reference page, there are some authors, because I've done work on first-gen students, I recognize some of these author names, right? So this is saying that these are experts in the field, and that is also what peer reviewers are looking for. Are you citing sources that are relevant? Are you citing sources that are timely? And some of their sources are a little bit outdated when you're thinking about this was published in 2016 and they're using an article from 2005. Sometimes you can get a little bit of pushback. No, that's about timely, about 10-year difference. Some journals give you a little bit of pushback on that. But that is what I'm going to task you all with, identifying one peer-reviewed article. And so I wanted to show you all one other thing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen again. Remember how I noted US and World News Report, right? That's a website article. Can I use it? Yes. If you want to use it for your policy analysis, yes, you can use it, but it's not a peer-reviewed journal article. And that's the biggest thing that I want you all to know. Again, I would look at this and I see the author is Shane Leggeese. This was published in 2023. And so the title is, of course, What to Know as a First Generation College Student. If I'm citing this in text, I'm going to say Legis 2023, right? So I'm not saying don't use websites. I'm not saying don't use web-based articles, but I am saying I want you all to think about the peer-reviewed journal articles as well, because as you continue to work as a scholar in social work, we're going to be looking for peer-reviewed journal articles. You cannot just rely on web-based articles. You cannot just rely on Wikipedia, or the main thing are the web-based articles. And why? Because a lot of times we know that sometimes, I'm not saying all, but sometimes it is filled with misinformation. Can journal articles have misinformation? Can peer-reviewed journal articles have misinformation? Yes. But for the most part, because they are being checked in a field of their peers, of experts on the topic, they typically do not contain misinformation, because it has to actually go through a review process. Think about some of the information that we gather off of the internet. They have to retract or update because they have gotten it wrong, because they want it to be so fast in getting the information out before the next person that they did not stop to check, are the sources credible? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I hope that has helped you all to think about peer-reviewed journal articles, as well as I'm going to upload one. So you'll have in this announcement, you'll have a couple of things. You'll have this video, you have a link to the APA website, as well as an example of a peer-reviewed journal article. The one I showed you had a couple of little wonky pieces, like it didn't have the abstract heading like I typically look for. So I'll show one with more of a standard format, but it still fit everything else that you tend to look for when you're looking for a journal article that is peer-reviewed. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen one last time. And we are going to look at the APA website. And we'll kind of look at a couple of things. I want you all to kind of play with it a little bit as well. And it is a great, great, great resource. Before we go to it, I think I shared with y'all during the first week of class, the website that I'm going to show you all is this book, right? I like to touch things. I flipped through this book. I still use it, y'all. I'm not so far removed from APA that I don't have to look things up, right, to verify information. So I have this. Y'all see, I just reached over. I'm literally at my desk. I keep this at my desk. I actually need to get an extra copy to have in my office, but it's my handy dandy APA guide. But I know that you may not be able to buy the textbook. You may not want the textbook. So I also have a handy dandy link. And this is where I send all of my students when I'm talking about APA formatting. I send them to this APA website, right? It talks to you about APA formatting. It is the APA. And when I say APA, I mean the American Psychological Association. I also fall into that trap sometimes of using acronyms and not telling you all what they mean. But APA stands for the American Psychological Association. And it is APA writing is a style that we use in the social sciences. Social work is a social science. And so typically where we're going to go, we're going to look at we won't focus on format of paper today. We'll do that in the class. One thing that I want us to look at is in-text citations, number one. Now, I'm not going to read all this, y'all. I trust y'all to be able to read. But you see on this page, all I went to is style and grammar guide. And let me kind of talk y'all through that. So this is the page one. APA style. I clicked on style and grammar guidelines. This is where you look for APA formatting that is beneficial for you as you format your papers. We have paper format, we have tables and figures, in-text citations, references, mechanics of style, grammar, bias-free language, as well as the publication process, right? The main things that you all will probably focus on is paper format, in-text citations, and references. But I also encourage you all to look at mechanics of style as well as grammar, because I've also commented in some of your papers, stop, read, breathe. I know you are typing. I know this isn't the only class that you have, but I want you all to take out time and make time to read your assignments out loud, right? Hear what you're saying. It helps with your grammar. It helps to say, that doesn't make sense to me. So how is it going to make sense to Dr. Dozier, right? So that is another comment that I have across the board to my students sometimes, is slow down. I don't understand what you're saying, right? You understand it because it's in your head and you're typing it. But when it comes out, how do you want to communicate it to your reader? So in-text citations, that's where we're going to start. That's our big thing, right? And again, I'm not going to read all of this to y'all. But we see again, you have all of these pieces that are essentially, and I wanted to see if it kind of lines up a little bit. Yeah. Basic principles. I got that tab right here. Let me see what else, because I think they do it a little bit different. We do have mechanics of style. I'm not gonna get caught up right here, y'all. I think some of the things are behind my tabs. My tabs are a little bit different. So I'm not gonna jump into that. But as we look at just the basic principles, APA uses a author date citation system. Do you have the author's last name? Do you have the date that it was published? And when we say date, we mean the year, right? And I'm not gonna read all of this. What I want is for them to show me, what I'm wanting to get to is, and it'll tell you places where you're supposed to cite. So I really want you all to really take a look at this, like just peruse through this website. What I want to see is, right here. So I went to parenthetical versus narrative in-text citations. And right, this kind of helps you begin to diversify your citation. I don't expect y'all to do that right now, okay? If you can master this piece right here, falsely balanced news coverage can distort the public's perception of expert consensus on an issue. Kohler 2016, if you master that in-text citation, we're good. Whatever your author name is, author name, year of publication, that is what I'm looking for your in-text citation. Dr. Dozier, what do I do if I don't have a date? If you don't have a date, you put ND, no date. N period D period, no date, right? And this is typically going to be for your websites, or typically it's going to be for a website, not those, even the electronic news articles typically are going to have a date. And also your journal articles, they're going to have a date. Sometimes you have to look for it. Sometimes you have to look hard for it. It's not just laid out based on the way that the journal has their paper set, but typically you can find it at the bottom of the page. But this is what I'm looking for, right? And they give you some examples of different ways to cite Kohler 2016. But you're going to have the author name, you're going to have a comma, and the year. That's your in-text citation. And then they talk about narrative citations, where you might start a sentence out and say Kohler, right? And then you would just put in parentheses the year. Noted the dangers of falsely balanced news coverage, period. You don't have to put Kohler 2016 at the end. And as you're writing in your paragraph, you need to be citing throughout the paragraph. I've also noticed that sometimes I'll have a chunk of a paragraph and then I have one citation at the end. In my mind, in terms of in-text citation, that citation goes with that one sentence, not the whole paragraph. So you have to have it interspersed throughout the paragraph. And as you're looking at the journal article that I'm going to provide, you're going to see what that looks like, okay? And again, I don't expect y'all to be experts. I just want us to get the basics down. So that's in-text citations. Again, I'm not going to hold y'all long. And I think we're gonna stop right there, y'all. Because I know I've talked a lot. So we're gonna stop at the in-text citations, and I'm gonna do a different video specific to the reference pages. So key things that you'll look for in my announcement update is this link to APA. I encourage y'all to look at it, use it. I have it saved. Why do I have it saved? Because I use it if I don't have my handy dandy book with me, but also as I am noting APA issues with students, I take that link and I drop it in the comments and say, hey, follow this link, right? So play with it. Look it up. It is a great resource for you all. So you'll find that link as well as a link to a journal art. I'll have an upload of a journal article, but I'm gonna stop right there because I said I wouldn't hold y'all long. I'm going to do a separate video on the reference page, and I may just kind of peruse through a little bit more of this website for you all. So again, great job on the midterm. Great job. I know I've already shared it with you all on the annotated bibliography as well as the outline, but these are just some of the things that I am seeing. And why do I focus in on this is because this is a skill set that you need, not just for my class. This is a skill set that you need for your social work classes as you move on as a social worker who writes in your social work courses. You need to be able to use APA formatting. And so if we can get some of these basics down, we're going to keep working on it and we're going to keep strengthening it. It is a process, you all. So just keep at it. Ask me questions if you have questions. Try it. Even if it doesn't turn out right, try it. Give me something to work with and I can provide that feedback. On your midterm, you all had things that you work with, and I provided feedback and examples to you all. So thank y'all. I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Be looking for maybe one more video. I may not have it up before Tuesday though. I'm not gonna guarantee that. So let me stop sharing.